For the third
We both
time.
blew that.
Cigars
No.
aren't
Cigars.
good.
No, they're okay. They're fine if you know what you're getting into. The biggest problem with cigars is that people inhale them because they treat it like a joint
Okay.
or like a cigarette,
And
and
you're not
then
supposed to
they
do that?
throw up.
Okay.
And it's like they're
Supposed
like,
to linger
how do
in your
I
mouth.
do it? And it's like, well, you don't inhale a milkshake when you suck that in. You just like leave it in your mouth.
Yeah, everyone else is the
And then-
asshole for thinking that a cigar is something you inhale. Like,
Yeah.
would you do it with a milkshake?
They
I
are.
didn't know that those were the
They are. It's not that they're an asshole
cigars
for
are
thinking
similar
that.
to a milk
It's
more.
that they're an asshole for getting mad at me for them not knowing how to smoke a cigar. That's
Okay.
my problem. And I have to say, I smoke like one cigar a year. This
Okay.
is not like, I'm not sitting out on my fire escape smoking
Right.
cigars
Right.
by myself. But yeah, I don't know.
No, I feel like,
Addictions, like addictive stuff is tough.
yeah.
So like for the last like month and a half, I've been trying to cut back on alcohol just because the month and a half before was like a lot of alcohol.
Yep, I do that. I do a 30-day cleanse just randomly, just so that I know I can.
And that's like everything, like alcohol.
Well,
just-
yeah, usually if I do it, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to do 30 days of no drinking, and then I'm like, I'll also cut out sugar, and I'll also exercise every day, and I'll also, just, I think
That's
exercise
good
and
for you.
discipline are good, and people don't do that,
No.
like, especially our age, which I don't know if it's just because I grew up like that, or like that's just a personality trait that I have, but.
What do you mean grew up like that? Did you guys have to like run laps as punishment or something?
No. I don't know. I have a lot, and maybe this is actually a bad thing. It's like I have a very all or nothing mentality, so I'm not that person. Like I would love to be a person that is just a special occasion drinker, like where I'm just like,
Gotcha.
But I'm like, if I am drinking, I'm gonna drink.
We're drinking.
And yeah, I also want to be, not that I want to be like fucked up, but I want to feel it. And I'm also a big gal, so it takes a lot for me to get there. And I have a really high tolerance. So yeah, after I'll go, where like you're saying, where it's just like you had a month, but it was a lot, and like. Especially working in comedy, you're in a nightclub or something every night, and so it's hard to separate you, and you're performing for drunk people. That it's not fun to do that sober a lot of the time.
Well, yeah. Eventually you start to look at them and you go, I do not want to be that.
No, that's true. Yeah, no, but there is a lot where I'm just like, let me just so I know it's a self check,
Yeah.
Just do 30 days without it.
Yeah.
And then the first time I ever did that, it was hard, and I was ashamed of how hard it was. I was like, this shouldn't be a problem. So I like to do it a handful of times a year.
You just like to like dominate your body.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, I'm in charge here, not you. I gotcha.
Exactly.
It is tough at the comedy clubs though, because like the one that I go to, I get a free drink ticket every time. So when I turn it down,
Where is this comedy club? I've never like I worked for 4 hours. I'm the reason every person's in here. Can I get one free drink?
The Three Monkeys in Midtown Manhattan. Come see a show. I'm there every week. But the bartenders look at me like I'm fucking weird when I say no, because they're like, it's a free drink. And I'm like, yeah.
Do you get an actual ticket?
You get a little ticket.
Stock up. Take the ticket.
Well, they don't like it when you do that.
Oh, I do that.
I started to do that. And then they were like, Corey, you can't use 6 tickets in one night. And I was like, but it's been a tough week. So, I don't know.
You're like, there's no fine print on this Carnival dollar store ticket you gave me.
I know, that's what I always talked about. Is like, I could just go buy a roll of those fucking things. I wouldn't do that to them. I like them. But I assume you have to, like, because you do modeling as well as stand-up comedy. What is your relationship to, like, substances as you are modeling? Like, when you've got a job coming up, do you, like, kind of line up when you're being healthy, or do those... kind of like...
Yeah, to some extent. Like if I know I have to model like swimwear or lingerie or whatever, where I'm like, all right, let's keep it tight this week. But also...
No beer.
Right,
no.
but also, that's the other thing though, is that, yeah, there are plenty of people that can be high-functioning addicts. And, you can be a piece of shit all weekend and then you can still go to your job and fully perform and do a good job.
That was literally me on Monday.
Right. My face is my job though, so if I look like shit, I'm not doing it. So yeah, I try not to when I know if I have a shoot the next day or whatever. And that's even just, it's like, even if I'm not drinking, I'm like, I gotta call it an early night, gotta get my beauty rest. It's a real thing.
How has that changed as you've like gotten older? Well, I guess let's go back to here. When did you start modeling? Like, how old were you?
I had always modeled, like, so my mom's a photographer. So, yeah, so I grew up kind of like she would, do photo shoots with me and then more people in Utah, whatever. But Utah is behind the world in any trend by like 5 to 10 years, and so curvy girls still aren't a thing there.
Okay.
You know, and so I would have people see my work online, and then like local agencies, which is a trash thing anyway. If you're doing a local agency in Utah, it's not a thing. But they'd have me come in and they'd be like, "You're perfect. We love you. We just need you to lose like 30 pounds, get to a size 2." And it was like that. And at this time, I was like probably half my size that I am now, but still considered too big for modeling, like in Utah.
Wow.
And it was like, that's not anatomically possible for my body.
Yeah.
I could starve myself and maybe be a 4 or 6, but I'm like, I just have wider hips than a 2. And luckily I had, you know, good parents that instilled confidence in me, and so I didn't have to, like, that was not something that I ever got really hung up on. I was just like, okay, I'll just never do this professionally. I never thought I really needed to. And then fast forward to when I was 21, and my agency in New York found me on Instagram, and
Oh wow.
yeah, and they were just like, "We love you because of your size," and you know, at this point, I'm a fully formed woman,
Sure.
like, you know, and yeah, it was cool. It was the one thing that always held me back from modeling in Utah. That was now the reason they wanted me, because they were like, "Curves are a thing now. Let's do it. Let's make it happen."
Yeah, you mean a bunch of mountain people are behind the times a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah.
What are the odds? No, I mean, I grew up in Michigan. It's roughly the same.
Yeah.
Like a little behind on stuff. Let's see, I went back a little while ago. Couldn't find mixed greens anywhere. Like, was trying to eat a fucking salad. They were like, "We got iceberg." All right, that's what I'm going for.
I don't know about
I guess,
that's
but it was like,
extreme.
I guess, I don't know. I was just like, really? You guys haven't caught on? They don't have oat milk
Oh
either.
my gosh!
I was
They're
like-
"There's butter lettuce on this burger."
No, that's good. I like that. If I'm going for a burger, then I'm all about
Right,
that. But yeah. So as you've gotten older, back to like the substances thing, how was that? How's your relationship to like alcohol changed? Like as you've gotten older, does it take you longer to recover? Does it take you?
Oh,
You know.
no. So this is actually something I'm super grateful for because of my upbringing in Utah, and I was a devout Mormon.
Okay.
And so I didn't try anything, including coffee, until I was 22 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And now you're a full-blown
Yeah.
addict to coffee, I'm assuming, as are the rest of us.
Yeah, I am. And it's funny too, because I go back home and I'm also that asshole that like my best friend, like it's great. Whenever I'm home, she'll take the whole week off work. Like it's all, you know, my family will, and we all just hang out. But she loves Starbucks. And I, as someone who never even drank coffee before, now I'm that asshole. I go home, I'm like, Starbucks isn't even real coffee. If you like Starbucks, you don't like coffee. Like, I hate that I'm that person, but I'm like, do we have to? No.
I don't like Starbucks, but sometimes you
In a
need
pinch.
Starbucks.
Yeah, no, like, yeah.
That's the difference.
But what are you getting from Starbucks when you need Starbucks?
Just like a black coffee. Maybe, yeah. I don't like going to coffee chains.
Okay,
Like
see,
if I can find some little coffee shop, I'm all about that.
right.
But like,
You're just saying it was the
I'm a
closest
coffee
thing there.
snob though.
Right.
Like I go to like this fancy place
Yeah.
a couple blocks away, and I have like my own grinder
Yes.
and a French press and all this. Like I'm a coffee douchebag.
Right.
So like Starbucks, I'm like, when I go home, I'll get a lot of Starbucks because it's just easier to like pop in and
Right.
grab something and run out.
To me, Starbucks is the thing you get when you want a frilly, ridiculous drink. Like you
You
want a
get the
milkshake, where
$9
you're like, but it's
milkshake.
coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That was what we drank in like middle school.
Right.
That was like,
Yeah.
let's leave after school. Let's go to Starbucks to get frappuccinos.
Exactly. Yeah. No, the idea to me of going to Starbucks for a black coffee, I'm just like, what? Like, well, and also too, there's always like when I'm on certain sets or there are certain, I don't know, places that are like, we proudly serve Starbucks coffee, and you're just like, proudly? Really? It's so bad.
Corporate deals. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. You'd think a black coffee would be safe though. That's the one thing. It's not. It's really, really bad coffee.
Oh, Starbucks?
Yeah.
Yeah, they burn the shit out
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
It's so
I
hot.
can't figure out. I'm like, is it burned? Is it just not? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I don't know. Sponsor me, Starbucks.
don't know. Prove us wrong.
So you moved to New York when you were 21 to do modeling.
Modeling. Yeah.
And then I guess I don't even know how that starts. Like the fact that you were found off Instagram blows my mind because you like hear about that, but
Yeah.
I was like, this doesn't actually happen
no,
to anyone.
it still blows my mind. It was like they messaged me on Instagram and we had about a week of conversations and then like a video call. And then at the end of just 1 week from the time they first messaged me to the end of that week, they were like, okay, so we're going to book you a one-way flight. And
One way, you're
Yeah.
like, am I allowed to buy another
right.
one back?
Yeah, and
It's
they were just
like-
like, we think you should really give it a go and just do it. And I did and never looked back. But I was very lucky.
No
That's not
shit.
always the case for girls. Like, you know, they'll come out and they'll try it for a while and and it doesn't work. Whether that's that they can't get work, or like, I'm also glad a lot of models were discovered, you know, at like 18 and then they move out here, and I don't think you're ready to like just be out here on your own and modeling that type of weird lifestyle with inconsistent money, but it's also big money when it does come in, is not, I don't know that I could have managed that well as an 18-year-old. So yeah, a lot of those girls just don't know how to manage their money, and then are like, oh, I literally can't do this. I can't stay here.
As someone who did not move here until I was 22, I don't know how anyone does the years of 18 to 22 here. Just like, one, I feel like overwhelming. Two, you have zero money unless your parents are rich, which then I understand it if your parents are just like bankrolling you. But it's interesting you bring that up, because that was like one of the other, one of my former episodes, A-Marie Castillo talked about being like a club promoter. And so she was talking about how like a lot of these younger models would just like completely burn themselves out. Like they had no idea what they were doing. They were just following people everywhere. And then after 6 months, they were like, I gotta fucking leave.
Well, and also the club promoting thing. So yeah, it does become this really predatory thing when you don't know what you're doing, because first of all, the club promoting thing, sometimes, you know, they promise you a nice dinner first, and then you do have to go out to like 4 a.m., which then sucks because then you aren't.
So let's go back and do for the people that didn't listen to that, like club promotion, like how does that all work with the models?
So it's usually not something that's set up through your agency, which anything isn't through your agency, you really don't want to do. But the reason why girls do it is because, like I said, they promise you a nice dinner, and for some girls, that's all they're eating. Like they moved to New York, maybe they've done a couple.
I shouldn't laugh. That's sad.
No, they've done a couple campaigns. But the other thing about modeling is you are often not paid for about 3 months until after your job, like after a job. So you know you have all this money coming in. Yeah, it's
Wow.
No, it's messed up. So yeah, these club promoters are like, we'll feed you and give you drinks and put you up in, you know, whatever. But yeah, it becomes a really predatory thing. And then also models, the one thing the agency does do, which is nice on paper, but they'll fly you out here and they'll put you up in a model apartment. But you do owe them that. Like, they make it sound like it's all free, but you do owe them that money once you start working. And if you do start working and you get on top of it and you move out of that quickly, you can, you know, that's what I did. But a lot of girls don't understand how much that actually costs, and that they are never it becomes like indentured servitude to the agency, where they're never actually they are working and they think they're living this New York life, but they're never getting on top of the debt they owe the agency. So it's all kind of for nothing. Like,
wow. That's really crazy. It's almost, like musicians have the same problem with like record labels.
Exactly.
They'll get like this huge deal, and then they find out they're getting almost zero money, but they also have to create like 6 albums for them, and like 6 albums ends up netting them like 350 grand or something like that, which is insanity when you think about it. It takes like 15 to 20 years to do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, to me, like when I moved out here, I was like, okay, here's a certain amount of my money that I'm willing to blow on this pipe dream, if that's all it is. And once that's gone, I move, like, if I haven't made it by then, I move home. Like, I'll use my last, money to move back to Utah. And I got down to my last $20 in my bank account. I was getting a sandwich and I was splitting it into thirds every day. Like, and at this point I had worked, but like I said, it takes 90 days for jobs. And I still was even like, nope, I'm not even going to try to make that argument. I'm just like, if I can't pay my rent, like this isn't real. Yeah. Like, you got it. This is, I really was looking at it very pragmatically. Like, this is just a pipe dream. This is a thing they're telling you, whatever. And then finally it started coming in.
You didn't think, so I guess what's your relationship with your parents like monetarily in that sense? Like, could you have texted them and been like, hey, can I get a couple? No. Were they like, what's going on there?
Every member of my family owed me money at the time that I moved here. Like, I don't have a family like that. Like, we weren't poor, but
sure. And
my parents were also good at, not that they cared, but like, we did fun things. We had a boat. We had nice things, but it was all a front. They were never like, they never had, like, they didn't have savings. I did not have it. They couldn't have put me through college. They couldn't have.
Okay.
And I always was good with money, even though I didn't make it. I figured out at a young age that it didn't make me happy and I didn't need that, so long as I had the security of saving. So I figured out how to, like, I worked at a ski resort. I was a lift operator, and I was like, I just want to ski every day and be a bum. And so long as all of that covers my bills and I can have enough money to be saving for a future, even if it's small, then I'm going to do that. And then, modeling, it was kind of the same thing where I was like I am very close with my family, and I love Utah. I love all of it has to offer.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get you to shit on your family.
No, but so for me, I was like, it wasn't even not only like enough to, okay, let me move here, and so long as I'm breaking even, for it to be worth it to me, I was like, I have to be socking away money. Like I need to be making money and socking it away for my future. Because if I'm not, then why am I away from all the people that I love and lonely and, you know, like I didn't. Yeah, which I've built a really beautiful life for myself now, like 4 years in, and I have friendships and, you know, other reasons to stay here, but still, like, and even in that same time, though, my brother and his wife had a baby. She's the love of my life, and I'm sick to my stomach every time I'm not there, like, every time something happens, and, yeah, so modeling's one of those things where I'm like, I'll do it until it's not worth it anymore, and once I'm just breaking even, it's not worth it to me.
And then you'll stay here for stand-up comedy.
There, exactly.
Which is always worth it. Never not worth it to go up on stage and make a clown out of yourself.
For a free drink ticket.
For a free, if that. Yeah, they don't give me money when I turn it down. They're just like, you get nothing, man. You weirdo. Take the drink.
You stock up all 6 and you're like, how about $60
yeah,
for this set?
Exactly. Hold the bar hostage. So that's, okay. So how was, I guess during the pandemic, what was modeling like? Did you have to, like comedy, did you have to put everything on hold? Because if you moved here when you were 21, 4 years ago, then most of the time you've been in New York, it's been the pandemic.
Yeah. Which is so weird because it felt like I had been here a really long time before the pandemic. I don't feel like I moved here and then the pandemic hit. Like I felt like I'd had a life here and was doing it. And that section feels really long. And then the pandemic is, you know, this weird thing that doesn't, like, we don't, like, we can't even measure that really. And then it does feel really, really recent since after the pandemic though. So I don't know, it was weird. I did go home for a long time. Like I kept my apartment here. I was able to, because I was smart and had savings. Do it, kids. Yeah. I was able to keep my apartment. But yeah, went home. But it was that thing, like what we all thought. We were all idiots in the beginning. We were like, it's just gonna be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we'll be over this. I had one job, like things were starting to close, and then I had one job that is, I won't say the brand, but it's one where they use me just from here down. I'm literally a human hanger. Like it's not like, I'm just there modeling the clothes. And so, and it's one of those that's like they, you know, don't care about you as a person. They're grinding it. So when that job closed, like when they said they were closing for COVID, I was like, oh, this is for real. Like everything's about to shut down if they're not gonna use me for this. So once that job canceled, I went home for, what I thought was 2 weeks. And then it was 2.5 months.
Yeah.
And then came back.
Fought with my parents one too many times and came back.
Right, exactly. No, honestly, my time home was good. And it was, my brother and his wife had just had their baby. So it was cool because I was there for that time of her life that I wouldn't have been otherwise. So no, that was really awesome. But when I did come back, so many models are, you know, like 18-year-old Russian girls and then foreign. So they all went home and then they weren't able to come back up until like very, very recently. Oh, wow. So for a minute there, when I came back, I was the only model in New York City. And so I was booking all the jobs. I was making more in the middle of the pandemic still than I was before because I was the only one here. Shit. Yeah.
Was it like, so it sounds like it was easier to get jobs. Were the jobs themselves harder? Like, did you have to go through all these protocols and stuff? And like, I'm thinking about sports. Like, athletes had to go through like testing every day. They had to wear masks at every single turn. Like, how strict was all of those regulations?
It was strict, and it was also like on a set. I'm the one person that cannot wear a mask, like ever, because my job's doing my photo taking, so everyone else can do that. And can take that precaution to protect me and to protect themselves, but I can't. And not only can I not, like, I'm literally breathing in their face. They're like touching my face and adjusting my clothes and whatever. So yeah, we had to be really strict on that. And then I did feel an obligation to get vaccinated for that reason. And all the others, I guess. I'm saying I don't.
I was gonna try and pay you as an alt-right crazy person.
No. But I will say I may have waited a little bit longer to get it if I had been someone that could have just worn a mask and stayed inside and whatever. Sure. Like I wasn't someone that was so badly itching to get out that I was like, I'll get the vaccine so I can just get out again.
Were you one of those people that was like, I'm kind of glad for the pandemic. I can just watch TV now, play video games. Like, who needs people?
Totally fine. I made minimal adjustments to my lifestyle.
Oh my God. One of my college roommates was like that too. He's like, I go to the store once every 2 weeks, and other than that, I'm fucking chilling. I was like, I'm gonna die.
I do very well alone. Which granted, like I said, I was able to go home to Utah, and maybe I would have gone a little more stir crazy if I'd been here the whole time, but yeah, I don't know. I do very well alone. Probably too well.
It's good for you.
It is good. I don't know. It is good. Yeah.
It's all about balance, right? Same with the alcohol. You gotta have some alone time and then
Right.
some people time.
Right.
Balance it
Were
out.
you someone through the pandemic though? I feel like people either they became like the most fit of their lives or an alcoholic.
No. So I like you went home for 2 months.
Okay.
And I was so bored at my parents' place. Like my knees are not very good, so I never liked running.
Okay.
But like I had literally nothing else to do,
Yeah.
so I started like going for runs there, and then just like it's been slow, but like from there, I think like what was I at? It was May 2020. I've lost like 30 pounds since
Alright.
then. So yeah, it's just like, but it's been slow. I wasn't like one of
Yeah.
those people, like, I don't know if you know comedian Alex Aronson, who was a guest on this podcast. He lost like 50 or 60 pounds. And so yeah, I don't know. When I'm by myself, I don't like to drink because I
Right.
know how much of a slippery slope that
Yeah.
is. This is like, I don't even like having alcohol in my house most of the time because I'm out at comedy clubs and
Yeah.
bars all the time, where it's like, the one night a week I'm home, do I really need alcohol around
Also,
me?
do you
It's like,
need it
no.
alone? Like, do you want to just drink at home alone? Like, that's not.
I don't mind like a good whiskey during like a movie or something. I'm not like shotgunning
Right.
beers or
Right.
anything, but I got like fancy iced spheres and
Yeah.
I'll like make a night of it.
You got those TJ Maxx ice spheres?
Yes.
I do too.
Yeah. But it was also like, if I did that more than one night in a row, I go fucking crazy. So,
No, that's funny though so my weight has always fluctuated my whole life, and that's just normal. But I like didn't realize until recently that I think I've lost about 60 pounds.
wow.
Like
That's
not
awesome.
from. I mean, I was trying to be healthy and whatever, but that was never I didn't care about any sort of number. And I was just texting my friend the other day, who's my like workout buddy, and I was like, oh shit. When we started, I was literally 60 pounds heavy.
I just said this when you asked me. I was like, wait, how much did I weigh back then?
Right.
Which, hey, cheers to us.
Cheers.
Good job. So when the modeling like picked up during the pandemic, how did you decide which jobs you're going to take, which jobs you're not going to take? Like, what are the factors that go into that?
I mean, at that time, you take them all. Like,
Take them all.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm finally at a place in my career where I can turn down things or, fight for be like, well, I don't want to do it unless they want to pay me more than that.
Okay.
But
God, I wish I was at that place of comedy. But anyway, sorry, go on.
I'm like, I'll pay you. I'll pay you.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know. That just kind of naturally.
So what do you do now? When you like turn something down, why would you turn a job down for it? It's like they're not paying you enough? Is it like inconvenient to get there? Because like go ahead.
I have one client, so the one client that I said that got shut down, I still work with them now, and their rate's already so low, and then my agency takes 20% commission, and then they're in like the middle of nowhere in a way that's like very annoying to get to, and they won't reimburse you for like your cars. And so I'm just like, that's a client where I'm just like, I don't need to work with that client anymore, because like after all of that, it's really not worth my time. But I have a hard time turning down jobs as someone who grew up with not a lot of money and is very frugal, because even at that number that I'm saying is not worth my time, it's still more than anyone else makes in a 9-to-5. Like, I don't know why I'm being an asshole about it. So, but they're so few and far between. So that's what I'm saying. You don't turn down a lot of jobs, because even though in that one day you're making more than most people, it could be another month before you work again. So
that does make sense. I guess so my frame of reference, obviously comedy, 9-to-5. Like when you're interviewing, you'll turn down some jobs for like other rates. Like the person I interviewed with was weird, so I'll be like, I don't want to work with them.
Right.
Or like, do you get those weird personalities where you're just like, this is not going to be worth it? Or is it because of the nature of it? Like a 9-to-5, if you work with someone shitty, you work with someone shitty every single day.
Right.
But like modeling, is it kind of like I only have to work with them for like 2 minutes, so I'll just deal with it?
I can usually rough it out for sure. And I don't work. I mean, that's something that's cool about modeling. You work with different people almost every single time, and so there's all the pleasantries. I mean, that can be annoying, but also it's hard to get annoyed by someone you don't know well enough to like.
Sure.
Like, we're only gonna be together for a few hours. Just tell me a little bit about yourself and whatever. So.
Interesting. I'm assuming when you go to those shoots, it's just like they treat all the models like princesses just the entire time. Like, do you have people like waiting on you? Does it depend on the
It depends on the shoot.
Because like I have a very like Hollywood understanding of modeling,
So,
which is zero.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like
So modeling's funny because it's both. Like it's
Okay.
so like you'll work one day where, like I said, I am a human hanger. They shoot me from here down. I'm wearing 70 pieces in a day. Like, and we're just shooting for a website. We're just shooting e-commerce, and that you feel like you're not even a person. Like it sucks. Not that anyone's treating you poorly. It's just everyone's just grinding so hard, and you just want to get done.
It's a job.
Yeah, and then the next day I'll be on a set where it's like they have it all catered. I'm in a nice cozy robe all day. I roll in, and then at like noon they're like, hey, let's get you into hair and makeup, and then I get a scalp massage, and then I take one shot and I go home, and I'm like, that was okay.
That was 10 grand.
Right.
How much do those pay? Do you see like a difference? And you don't have to give real numbers if you don't want to, but do you see a difference in like those ones where it's just like for an e-commerce website versus like I'm the star of this pay wise?
Yeah, well,
or like
what's funny is e-commerce is always harder work and lesser pay, and versus the ones where you do get treated like a princess and for no reason you're getting paid a lot of money. I mean, it's not for no reason. It's all worked out through your agency. Like it's because it's for the usage of it. So like, I understand why they don't want to pay me a lot for here down, because anyone can, they don't care, and they're not going to use those images all over for advertising and for whatever. So the reason why I get paid more for the other ones that is my face and whatever is because they're using my likeness, and they may have a contract for several years to use it, whatever. Yeah, but
do you get like residuals on those, like writers? Like if you write for a TV show, you'll get like checks as it airs. Do you get paid every time that they use the print, or is it just kind of like a one-off?
So usually they'll do like a full buyout. So that's something my agency just does for me. So sometimes that'll happen, but it's very rare that that's happened for me. Usually it's just a one-time big thing, and that's worked into how they can use it. And then if they go outside of that, my agency can come after them and whatever. But that's never
Gotcha.
Yeah. Is this so boring? I feel
No,
like modeling...
I think this is no. This is so interesting because of like what I said. I only have like a Hollywood understanding of modeling, where it's like I knew like a little bit of the like most models don't make it, but then after that it was just like I don't know, they're fucking famous, they make millions of dollars, like everyone loves them. That's it. So like this is what this podcast is like getting into the like little details that only really I and my followers care about. It is super interesting though. I want to get into like the fact that you grew up Mormon and like, because there's also like I have very little understanding of that as well. Like I've seen the Book of Mormon, but other than that, it's like
it's spot on.
It is. That's what I've heard though. Like I've actually heard that it's really close. How did that relate to modeling? Like was there like in your family, in your community in Utah, were they like, oh, she's going to the big city and like all this? Were they like, what is the approach of that? Because like middle of Michigan, where I grew up, West Michigan, like very religious. There is a little bit of like, oh, he's going to the city. He's good. They're going to they're doing what? They're doing. Did you have that like when you decided to move here?
Mormons aren't like backwoods, like
no.
I know some people think they are. They think you're like, oh, you left your community, and like it's not like an Amish rum spring or anything. Like they're normal people. They work in tech.
You guys
they
use
work
electricity.
In fashion, yeah. Like so, everyone was excited, but I'm sure there were people that are like, is she gonna change? And like, sorry about it, I did. Like, you know, but luckily, I mean, I have a very weird take as someone that grew up in Utah and that was Mormon, because for a lot of people, Mormonism is about, you know, it's so family-centered, which is a beautiful thing about their religion, but that's why they have really judgmental parents that never understand them, and it's hard to leave, whatever. And I have a weird, I'm a very weird person. So I was the last member of my family to leave the church. So I had no, I mean, I have my whole extended family, and I don't even know if I'd say I've left the church. I'm not practicing, but like most people, when they leave the church, their, you know, family kind of shuns them, or it's this big contention in their family, and then they leave angry because they're very hurt by not being accepted by the, you know, and for me, it was the exact opposite. Like my family was done with it, and I was a weird 21-year-old, just like playing Dance Revolution with my other Mormon friends on a Friday night, not like...
I'm sorry, what's wrong with that?
No, it's great, but like I never drank, never had, like I was a good, like genuinely just a good kid, and I did like truly believe in it, and so... Look
at you now, just doing podcasts. This is what the devil would have wanted. All right, we're watching too much Righteous Gemstones lately. Sorry. Yeah.
No, but I did, and I mean, I've always had a very crude sense of humor, and I've always liked the kind of rougher parts of myself, but I was still a good practicing Mormon. And then you know, like I said, the thing with Mormonism is it's so centered on family. The biggest thing is this concept that you can be with your family forever. That's kind of the big promise in Mormonism and why it appeals to people.
Interesting.
And to me, that was so beautiful. And I lost my dad when I was 17. And so that was something that got me, like, and everyone, even my people, like my brother who like hates the church, but he's like, I understand you wouldn't have survived that without the church. Like that was what you need, and he can respect that. But then it got to the point as I just got a little bit older where I was like, you know, my family would want to go do something on a Sunday, and I'd be like, it's the Sabbath, I can't. And I was like, how is a religion that's centered on the family preventing me from being with my family? It makes no sense.
Wow.
Yeah, and so things like that just stopped making sense. The all or nothingness of it stopped making sense to me.
Sure.
And you know, I do believe in unconditionally loving something, you know, in our universe. Whether that's just the concept of love itself or whatever, but I think there's this thing that unites us and that makes us greater and whatever. But like, I realized I was part of a religion, and I feel this way about all organized religion now, but I was like, I'm part of this thing that puts conditions on the love of an unconditionally loving thing. Like, it just stopped making sense. So, like I said, most people leave very angry when they leave the church, and I don't have that sentiment. It did get me through. There's lots of it that I love. Mormons are good people. Like, it's truly, there's a lot of really beautiful aspects of it, but I just, again, it's the all or nothingness. I'm like, why can't I take the things that do ring true to me and the relationship that I have with whatever, you know, higher power, and just try to live my life as a good person?
I think that's fair.
Why not?
I didn't grow up religious, so that's always made sense to me. So how did you approach like substances, alcohol, caffeine, like that? Because that probably like led into at least you come to New York. Because I don't know about you, but like the Midwest, there's a drinking culture, but it's really like chill. It's beer. It's not like going out and getting fucked up at Hair of the Dog. Which is the worst club in the entire city of New York. I hate that place. But it's like that sort of thing doesn't really exist there, but there is definitely a really strong drinking culture in New York. Did you, like, when you came here to do modeling, were you already kind of like, let me try caffeine, let me try alcohol, let me like fit in? How did that work?
So I was still very, very devout, but I moved in with the craziest individual on this earth, if he's still even alive. I don't know. I mean, he'll probably live forever. He's a cockroach. I don't know. The roommate I met when I moved here, who, it's so sad, he was like my best friend, but just a crazy, crazy individual. Okay, He was like a former heroin addict. And
wow.
Like, and I'm still just a
That's
good
pretty
woman.
good.
And everyone, like, my mom thought it was adorable.
That's a sitcom.
No, she really, she was like, this is a sitcom. My good little girl, like with this crazy like 40-year-old dude who wears cut off Metallica tees and has a pit bull and like.
Oh, that was my dad.
Yeah, so no, I definitely engaged in some of those partying things with him and our group of friends. But like, he was cool and understood that I wanted, you know, I was still devout, but I knew he was like, I'm just gonna slowly like bring her over.
Yeah.
But also showed me enough of his insane side that I didn't want to go too hard, which I think was like, I'm very, very grateful that I didn't start drinking until I was 22 years old. Because I look at my friends that started drinking in high school and whatever, and they cannot hang. They cannot handle it.
Really?
Yeah.
Normally it's the opposite.
You would think, but no. Like, I'm the mom of the group. Maybe that has nothing to do with the age at which I started. Maybe it's just because I don't know if I just naturally have a really high tolerance or what. But I'm like so good at being a piece of shit. I'm like really good.
Good for you.
No, it was cool to learn. When I did start, I was like, damn, I'm good at this. I'm good at doing all these.
That is one of my
drugs.
I don't have any superpowers, but I think the one that's the closest is that I don't have the ability to black out.
Me neither.
And
never have.
I've tried.
No.
I've passed out.
Yep.
I've thrown up. I've never blacked out, and I don't know why, because it pisses off my friends too, because they'll be like, wait, we got super fucked up. You remember everything? I'm like, I remember everything. And they're like, oh no, we can't drink together anymore.
No, I'm the same way. I've never blacked out. I don't think I've ever, one time on New Year's when I got home, I made myself vomit just so I'd feel better, but I have never vomited that was one time. Other than that, I've never. No.
I've got 5 years on you, but only like single digits of time. And actually, as I've gotten older, I've thrown out more, but it's not because of the alcohol, because my stomach is shot.
Right.
Which, you know, what are you gonna do? But so when you would go out with like the other people that were at shoots with you when you're 21, 22, would you just not drink while they were getting fucked up? Or I guess, what was the nightlife like for someone who came from the culture that you did in New York City? Like, how was there like whiplash in some sort of way?
Not really. I don't know, because like I said, I always still had like a very irreverent sense of humor. I like understood pop culture. I wasn't a weirdo. Like, I was a weirdo in the sense that I actually like believed and was devout, but I wasn't like a baby or like self-righteous about it. But I also, again, a reason why I'm grateful I didn't start drinking until I was older is because it truly did. Like, I look back at my life in high school where I was just having bonfires with my friend, like sober, like just doing sober, fun kid shit. And I had a blast. There was not one part of me that's like, oh, I really missed out on partying in high school. Like, you're a kid. You do not need to be partying in high school. Literally,
I mean, the bonfires were a little better with some weed.
Play a board game. You know. I played so many board games. Oh my gosh. I'll ruin any Thanksgiving with Scrabble. My family won't play with me anymore. But no, I really developed a personality and interests because I didn't ever have the social lubricant of drinking growing up. And so even once I moved here and still was like going to parties with people but still wasn't drinking yet, I still had a good time. Like, I mean, I certainly wanted to call it earlier than other people. But I was like,
right.
But now that's already come back around.
Pouring through your body. No, I mean, I do agree. I didn't start like drinking or doing drugs until after I graduated high school, but I think it was very socially driven for me. Because like my friends also weren't doing that, and like I was the bad influence among my friends. So like it was kind of whenever I was ready is when I would convince them that they were ready to try that stuff. But I don't know. I just like in high school, I didn't felt like I really needed it. We would have like bonfires and like play video games and shit like that, but it wasn't, we never played Scrabble because my dad's an English teacher, so I never won. But yeah, I get that. But then I guess as soon as I like went to college or moved to New York, it was immediately like, okay, everyone's drinking, now I'm like, I could get fucked up with them for sure. Yeah. Was there like, when you would call it early, was there any like social pressure to stay out late? Because it happens in the comedy scene all the time. Yeah. With like drinking and like going out, even with your coworkers at like a 9 to 5. If you're the first one that leaves, like you get shit on.
I'm kind of a person that, on principle, if you tell me to stay out later, I won't. Just even if I wanted to. I love just being
super fun.
Absolutely not.
I got it. I was gonna stay out until you yelled at me.
No, honestly. I'm like, if you're like slobbering in my, like, you can't look me in the eyes right now. I'm not staying out with you. Milky-eyed bitch. I'm going home. I'm gonna have a good day tomorrow.
But then you left them in their time of need.
See, I've never done that with a girl. I've never done that with a girl. But that's where I'm just like, luckily my best friend, we've been friends for so long through when she was drinking and I wasn't, and then now that we both drink, she knows that I know when I say we're done, and she will not fight me on it. Like, she knows. And I also like
fair.
But I mean, I'm not like pushy about it. She's just like, oh, Wren knows what's going on and I have left the building. Yeah.
No, those are good friends.
Right. But no, when I was younger, like with her, I remember it was like our graduation party and there was a bonfire up in the woods with the party scene, and she was never Mormon, but she by like association with me was also a good kid, so it was very rare, like she'd had drank a couple times, whatever, but it was never huge. But I was like, all right, I'll be our designated driver, like it's graduation, like have fun, whatever. And yeah, the people that I was observing in Utah that were partying, I was like, I am not missing out on it. Like she had like a thing of peach vodka and she drank like half of it immediately, and she was so fun for 5 minutes. And then I was like, this bitch is the worst. No one around her's having a good time, including me. And I just like, she was gone because she drank it all so fast. And then I had to like pull her over and we just sat in a field together. I was like, she just needs to sleep this off for an hour. And then I had to she peed on my shoes at one point. And then I had to just have the valedictorian of our grade, who was also fucked up, throw her into my car. I think I smashed her head in the door on accident. Like I was just like, I don't get this. This isn't fun.
Wouldn't that have been more fun if you were fucked up though?
No, because she would have died that night. She would have
know.
died. No, and also this one creepy guy who was trying to hit on her would.
Well, yeah.
No, it would not have been. It's things like that where I'm like, no, I'd rather stay. Just
guys have the advantage of like, if one friend gets too fucked up and then fucks off, you're like, so be it.
Exactly.
It's like he did it to himself.
Exactly.
I don't know what to tell you.
Girls, you feel responsible for.
Yeah. That's a good point.
For sure.
Have you had to do that in New York? Like, do you still?
I am still the kind of mom of the group generally.
Okay.
But no, I have friends that can hang. Like I don't hang out too much with people that can't hold their shit because that's embarrassing. I'm like, that's not fun. Yeah. Also, I have gotten to that point now where like I had a friend who was like messed up on. I think maybe I told you this, but was like messed up on a plane, like at the airport.
Yes.
And they take that shit with the no-fly list very seriously. And I literally was just like, I hope you make it home, sir, because I will not. I'm not even going to sit close enough to you that I could, by association, be kicked off of this flight. Like, figure it out. This is our gate. We're really close, but I'm going to go there now. If you make it,
sunglasses, keep it together.
Godspeed. Yeah, please.
So that's actually one of the things that I wanted to bring up with modeling too. Let's talk about the travel, because you had mentioned the last time that we were hanging out that like you travel all the time,
quite a bit
for work. Like, what is that like? Is it awesome? Is it stressful? Are you in cities like in and out so fast you can't enjoy it? Like, like what is the whole situation
so people
there?
think that it is so luxurious and that it's so, they see like you're a jet setter. They see me posting stuff on Instagram and I'm just like, I'm not though. I'm in coach, and if I am in first class, I paid for the upgrade. And
well, Delta was real nice.
Right. But yeah, you're usually in and out so fast you don't actually get to enjoy a city, which I could start taking, like just tell my agents to be like, I'm going to spend a day there, especially with comedy, like when I go to LA where it's like, okay, why don't I just spend one extra night here and try to go get some spots?
Yeah.
But I don't know, sometimes you're just like, I just want to go home, or like I might have a job the next day, and so I don't know. It's definitely not that sounds cool.
It's not as glamorous.
To someone who's never, like me, I didn't get on a plane until I was 10 years old. So if I told 10-year-old me that I was on, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's living the dream. And now I'm like, if I could not fly.
Road trip family too?
Right. Also, I have to, the one thing I do allow myself with flying, I guess there's two things. So I usually, again, I'm frugal. I like to take the train everywhere. I try not to take Ubers. But if I'm going to the airport, I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm going to take an Uber.
100%.
Even it's 200, I don't care. It's my one thing.
I missed one flight in London because I took the train, and that's the end of that experiment.
So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to be fucked up. If I'm on a plane, I want to be drunk.
So what's your routine when you have to fly? Let's say to LA for a shoot. And I'm coming from this personally. I hate flying. I like doing it. I'm exhausted afterwards. I never want to plan anything. But in those like in and out trips, like do you have like a routine starting a couple days before so you can like mentally prepare to like show up, work, leave again? Especially like LA's a 10-hour flight. Yeah. Round trip.
Yeah, I mean generally they'll try to do it like I don't want to shoot the same day I flew in. So I'll try to have to, I'll be like, you need to put me up in a hotel, and I want to fly in the night before and then get the rest. And then I'm happy to fly out the same day, after the shoot. That's usually how it goes. But no, I don't know. There's not that, fun fact people don't know, you can pack as many mini bottles as you want. So I just save them and then fill them up with my own liquor. And then they announce on the plane, it is prohibited to consume personal alcohol. But if you're not an asshole, like a belligerent loud, I've never had a problem. I have never had a problem. One time
Wait, hold on. You buy mini bottles, drink the mini bottles, save them, and then refill them up?
Yes. So I never buy a mini, I'll just fill them up.
Wow.
I have a little funnel, and then I take them to the airport in a Ziploc bag. This makes me sound so trashy. You're like, oh, you're a jet-setting model. I pack my own.
When you were coming over, I was like, all right, so this will be interesting. I was like, I'll get to hear about like the glamorous model. I didn't think you'd be reusing Fireball nips.
Yes, I do. And then I go and buy myself a Jamba Juice smoothie.
Wow.
And I just
Hey, whatever works for you. My parents are gonna love you after this one. They're like, wow, she is so cool. Like, I bet she has so many Tupperwares at her house.
I do.
So many Tupperwares.
I do. Do your parents listen to your pod?
Yeah.
Oh, they love and support you?
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, do yours not?
No, mine do.
I was gonna say, let's get into that.
I know so many comedians though that will say some wild shit on their podcast. I'm like, wow, and they're like, they won't watch this. So, like, don't worry.
Well, I also, having a 9-to-5, I try not to say like insane things on the podcast. So, it's kind of the same rules, right? Like, if I wouldn't say it in front of my company, I also probably wouldn't say it in front of my parents, and there's a lot more I'd say in front of my parents than in front of my company. So.
Well, podcasting's even hard because okay, so we're stand-up comedians, and the whole point of comedy is to find the line and then flirt with it. Like, that's the whole point. So you'll say some pretty crazy shit on stage.
Well, episode 1 isn't online anymore.
Oh, well, there you go. So that's what I'm saying. You're within a safe space.
Yeah.
You know, that everyone kind of acknowledges and understands, except for the few people that get offended. But whatever, when you're in a comedy club and you're telling jokes, that's okay. Sure. And then it's tricky, though, because I feel like a lot of comedians will trickle that over into a podcast, which is what people want to hear, like an unfiltered whatever. But you can't do it. You could do it within the safety of a room, but there's some stuff you can't say on here. That
yeah, I mean, so I guess the way that I think about it is like they're just guidelines, and you can go. They're guardrails, and you can go as fast as you want in the guardrails, but as long as you don't go to the side, like if it's like you can race cars 200 miles an hour inside guardrails. Right. It's like, is what they're doing not extreme enough because they're not going past the guardrails? Like, no, it's still pretty fucking cool. Like,
nah,
you
you're
can still. All right, well, this has been a great episode until now. Wren's gonna get the fuck out of my apartment.
I want you to lose your job.
Yeah.
Have you ever had Michael Good on the podcast? Do you, Michael?
I have not. I do know Michael.
You know, he lost his job because
he did?
His podcast.
Sounds like he worked for a stupid company.
Right? Which he's, you know, I was like, what did you say? And I don't even know what he said, but it shouldn't matter because the cover art of his podcast is him with a boner. Like, it's
that's fucking awesome.
Like, that alone.
I do love that. Oh man, I'll tell you one of my favorite jokes I ever heard an open micer do after this, but it's not work appropriate, so I'm not putting it on the podcast.
All right.
But I'm glad you brought up stand-up comedy again, and we can end on this because I do want to get into kind of the similarities between modeling and stand-up, and I think what most people, like a lot of stand-ups did acting in college or at least they were in drama, or they were just kind of like the weird kid that did like music or some sort of performing art, and they've got that like confidence from that. I'm assuming modeling is kind of the same way, but like, I don't know. I'd love to get into the specifics on that.
It's funny because it's both. How do I describe this? Well, okay, so for one thing, especially when I am modeling, people on set, when they find out I do comedy, they're like, "Oh my gosh, do you talk about all of the? Do you talk about us, all the hilarious things we do?" As they're like,
my entire set is about my ass.
Which also I'm just like, no, that is not. Like, if I knew I had a set like a crowd of industry people, like fashion people, sure, maybe I would do something. But I'm like, there's nothing already. When you're a pretty girl, people don't want you to be funny. Could you imagine if I get up there and I'm just like, so my day job, I'm a model, and like no one's.
Half the people don't want you to be funny.
No.
The other half do.
No. It's, I have a whole bit about it when it's bad. So no, I definitely don't. I don't talk about modeling when I'm doing comedy, but no, in terms of like. Modeling, while it does seem like this very vain and vapid industry, and you can, you know, think that girls are dumb or they're whatever, you know, it's very easy to kind of, I mean, I still feel the same way sometimes, or I can see how people outside of it may think that it's just this really dumb industry.
Sure.
But you have to get very good at rejection very quickly. You're literally, you go to a casting, and sometimes you will have a casting director look you up and down, like just clearly right there, like, thanks for coming in. So it's funny because it is a whole industry built on being beautiful, right? So it does seem very vain, and it does seem like I'm like, yeah, I am very physically affirmed in who I am. Like I know I'm professionally pretty. Okay,
sure.
I get it.
Yeah.
But also I get told no way more than I get told yes. So that especially was helpful for me when I started barking. Which people think there's so much contrast. They're like, how do you get to go and be, you're on like Kim Kardashian's company and you're on her story one day, and then you go that night and you're barking at people like you're a Times Square. So like same shit. Honestly, it's really not that
making me feel better about barking. That's for sure.
Right. No, that is a weird. They're both the same. Where I'm like, I'm good at rejection, so I'm good at this. But also, I think it's good for me. Like I think it's a good balance of keeps you humble. And that's also the one thing that I do love about, not that, so models do work hard, it's a hard industry to make it in, but if you do just have just one of the right opportunities, it can change everything, and you can be a household name over, like you can,
sure.
Just one of the right things. And all of that, while it can be the accumulation of like time and preparation, a lot of times it is just luck, and it is just having a good agency or, whatever. stand-up comedy is so not that way in a way that's so satisfying, actually, for the contrast of me, where, you know, I can just, I started modeling, was getting big jobs quickly, and you can get a big head from that, and stand-up comedy is like, you
enjoy the street, bitch.
Yep, you can eat shit for 5 years and you still may not be good at it, and that's just the love of the game. Like, people will do that and will do it happily because they just love it. Like, you're addicted to it. We are addicts to comedy in a way that's actually really, really sad.
It's also like, what else am I gonna do with my time, right? Like, watch TV? I could do that already. I don't know.
Right.
No, it is interesting because I guess, like, coming into this, I kind of, the thought process that I had was like, modeling, when you're going to these shoots, you're kind of being treated like sort of a princess in a way, but then comedy is almost the exact opposite, where you show up and they're like, we don't want to treat you well. Like,
and we hope you fail.
need to convince us that we should treat you well.
And then you have to do it for years and years and years. Like, that's the one thing too, where I don't know. It's hard to disrespect a comedian. And it's funny because I feel like some people can look at them as, you know, I don't know, people can think we're kind of losers for chasing this thing. Which
what are they doing? Having kids? Fucking losers. Right. Anybody can have a kid. Try telling a joke, you bitch.
But it's this thing for anyone who's even slightly made it. To me, I'm like, I know what that took and how hard. And also, like, it's the thing where I don't like shitting on somewhere I heard someone said no one doing more than you is ever going to criticize you. And that was something that I think goes both ways that I took as a lesson. So for one thing, when I find myself shitting on comedians, especially female comedians, that I'm like, I'm funnier than her and whatever, I'm like, no, she's been doing it for no one. There's no such thing as just catching a great break in comedy. I know you're saying that, but even the one you're talking about,
I didn't say anything.
Even the one you're talking about,
I didn't say nothing.
Here's the thing though, and the contrast of that, that when I am having those feelings about people, I'm like, they're not thinking about me at all.
No.
They do not care.
They
do not care that I have this opinion of them. And it's not like modeling or some other things where you can't just have one big break. Like, even the people that maybe it looks that way, they've been doing this for years, and they were barking outside the pair, and they were, you know, it's a hard thing to disrespect comedians that have made it. I don't like doing that, because I'm like, that adds nothing to me, and also that person does not care that I'm feeling that way.
Yeah.
And then anytime I find someone criticizing me, then I can also use that on the flip side of just like, yeah, you mean nothing to me. I'm doing more than you are. I'm doing more than you are.
Yeah, I try to take the approach of like zero burned bridges, and just try to remember, like, it's not really a competition. Yeah. Like, there is, especially with the internet and like TikTok and Instagram Reels, like, there is not a set number of people that can be big in comedy like there used to be. And so, like, kind of having the approach, I try to have the approach of, like, almost with nobody I talk to would a booker ever look at the two of us and not have already made up their mind. Right. Like, there's no way that you and I could be standing in front of a booker and him would go, well, I don't know. But it's not because one of us is better or worse, it's because we're so different. Right. And, like, people that are booking, people that are looking for other comedians are always looking for something specific. And if it's not you, then you can't take it personally. Right. And I think that's where people get a little bit tripped up. Is that the same in modeling? Like, when you go to the casting director, are they comparing the models against each other, or are they kind of like have something in their head that they're looking for? I would say it's generally that. And a lot of times, that's why I got good at rejection, because sometimes you understand, you're like, oh, I'm not what they're looking for this shoot. But then sometimes you will see the person who did get it, like, you'll know that was the job, and you're like, really? Okay. No, and that's where you have to check yourself. Sure. Can't win them all.
Yeah.
It is funny. I have a friend that got hit up by one of the casting directors for The Circle. This is like Netflix reality TV show or whatever. And he was like, I don't want it. That's not the type of show I want to be on.
What an idiot!
I also think that he's an idiot.
Oh my gosh!
But it's funny because I told one of my coworkers that, and then literally like 8 months later, she sent me a text. It was like, holy shit, look who is on The Circle. And it was an exact carbon copy of my buddy, and I was like, wow, so they knew exactly what they were looking for there. It was a discount. That was amazing.
Kroger, like the Kroger version of your friend?
Yeah, kinda.
Or was he hotter? Was he the Kroger version of?
You know, I think all people are beautiful.
We both know that's not
No,
true.
they looked identical. They looked identical. It was crazy.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, so they really did.
Yeah.
Wow.
They really they were like, we need a type here. We need a specific type.
Was this friend of yours a comedian?
Mm-hmm.
So do you know if the other guy was also a comedian?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Didn't look into it.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, that's funny. But it kind of confirmed what I was saying is like, you know, we're all out here just trying to get as many chances as possible.
Right.
And that's how you do it, which is why, like, going back to what I was saying earlier, it's insane to me that, like, people actually hit up other people online. Like, Instagram, my buddy getting hit up on TikTok, I was like, how is this supposed to, do I need to, like, start doing this? And the push and pull. So I guess, like, the last question that I've got before we end this is, like, how do you manage your time between family, stand-up, modeling, like, all of that? All the things that you have going on, especially with how busy it is to be a stand-up, how hard it is to travel for modeling, and then obviously you've got your family back in Utah, like 3,000 miles away. Like, how do you approach that?
I'm not doing well, to be
Cocaine. No.
I'm not crushing it out here. No, I do find I go through phases where I handle it really well. It's just, I picked two things in life that are equally, so first of all, I also have like crippling ADD, and when you have ADD you need structure, and so the two passions I picked in life are ones that have no structure whatsoever. I could get an email at 6 p.m. that says you have to be in LA tomorrow, here's your flight information, or I could get, you get a last minute spot for comedy. Like, I picked two things that you are just on call all the time. So for me, the things that I can manage are like exercising and eating healthy and whatever. So I try to create structure. Like, I do dumb things. Like, I must make my bed every morning. Like, I have to, like if that's the one thing I can do. And then
Good for you.
Yeah,
honestly.
And I'm very much like a journal, like a planner. I still have a physical, like, paper planner. I like to write out everything.
And Mormons are not like a weird cult of people in the mountains?
No, definitely. No, I just, I try to find structure where I can. But yeah, I had to let go of that because I definitely did grow up just because of my ADD needing the same thing. I mean, I even, like, I did photography as a kid because of my mom. And I remember when I was 16, I was such a weird kid. And I was making good money at photography. I was doing it full time alone at that point. Yeah, but then I told my parents, I was like, I don't know, I feel like I just want to get a job at, like, the restaurant downtown. And they were like, why? I'm like, I feel like I'm lacking structure. And they're like, what is wrong with our child? Oh my gosh.
She's a 45-year-old person.
Yes, no, that's how I was. That's definitely how I was. So I was chasing that. And I've just learned to find it in certain things. Yeah, like exercise. There's the little things that I can, but you've got to let go. I mean, because this is what I love. I love comedy, I love modeling, so you've got to just roll with the punches. But no, I'm going through, I felt like January and February, I was so on top of it. March has been dark. We'll get it back.
It comes and goes.
Yeah.
Waves.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. This was super interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if we touched on anything specific like we're supposed to, but I don't know.
Just like the whole, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't really know anything
Name it whatever
about
you want, because I don't know what we were even
I'm going to do a split title, I think.
Okay.
I'm thinking about it during this. I was like, wow, we've touched on a lot. But you did warn me coming in. You're like the type of person that doesn't know a lot about one thing. It's just like a little about a lot.
And
which is the same.
This kind of tie into that a little bit. But I will say, because I was going to try to talk about confidence in some context, which I don't know that we did. But the one thing for me, I owe a lot of my confidence to my dad. And because for him, it was really important to instill that in me. And how he did it was, like, my dad made sure I knew I was beautiful. He told me that all the time. But he also made sure that I understood that that was the least interesting thing about me. Like, that's cool, but it's pretty lame compared to the rest. So, and I carry that.
No, good for him.
Like, I think that's important. I wish more people knew. And it's cool because it's becoming that way. I mean, it's always been that way in comedy. It's becoming that way even in modeling, where it's not even just enough anymore to be a pretty face. It's like, you also need to be interesting. And you need to be clever and funny and kind and all these other things. So, yeah.
No, I think it's super, like, everything you said is super interesting. Don't worry that we didn't, like, touch on anything specific. Where can people find you? Instagram, shows?
Yeah, Instagram is Wren Parker, WREN Parker. I'm trying so hard to be on Twitter, but I don't know how I know comedians need
Twitter's
to be.
dead.
Just come
Twitter's
to me.
dead.
Yeah.
TikTok's the new Twitter. Don't worry about it.
Okay, just start with my Instagram, and then I'm at the Grizzly Pear every weekend, and then around a bunch of other spots you can find on my Instagram story.
Awesome. Yeah, as always, follow me at Corey T Comedy on Instagram. Come check out shows at the Three Monkeys in Midtown. I'm there every single week.
He gets 1 drink ticket.
I get 1 drink ticket per show, but if people want to come and buy me drinks, I will take those ones. Those ones I'm taking 100% of the time. But, Wren, this was a lot of fun. Let's do one again soon.
I would love that. Thanks for having me.